Welcome to Inspired Women, Amazing Lives podcast, where we seek to thrive, flourish, and celebrate amazing women. Kimberly Wiggins here, and we are hosting inspired women who are sharing their lives and stories so that other women may know that the journey to your amazing life is definitely within reach. We are here every week to share resources and information that will help you along the journey to being that inspired woman leading an amazing life. Remember to like and comment, and most definitely share these episodes with another woman that you admire and one who truly inspires you. Or simply share with someone you would like to inspire. Enjoy. Welcome to Inspired Women, Amazing Lives podcast with my guest today, Kris Ward. Yay! Welcome, Kris.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and you're going to love this show today. Kris is talking about something that's near and dear to my heart, and it's productivity. And so we're going to jump right into that. But first, let me formally introduce Kris. Kris Ward is the founder of Win the Hour, Win the Day. It's both a platform and an Amazon best-selling book that helps entrepreneurs to systematically grow their business. And oh, by the way, enjoy a personal life too. Love that. That is kind of like my mantra. And so through sound management principles that anyone can easily understand and apply, Kris clients now have more time, freedom, and have recaptured the joy and fun they once had when they first started their business. Her book has been featured on the award-winning Read to Lead podcast, and it offers a 4-week productivity plan to go from overwhelmed to highly efficient so that you can reclaim your life. Kris, welcome. I didn't share the part about your story because you're going to tell us all about that right now. I can't wait to hear it.
Well, I'm really excited to be here. And of course, just to be in the presence of your energy is a real treat. So I'm really thrilled to be here. So let's dive in. Where do you want me to start?
Tell me, how did you get to this point? I know we'll cover your different background in a minute, but you had, this was not your wheelhouse initially. So how did you get to this point?
Well, what happened was I was in business for about 4 years with my marketing and branding company. And I was really working hard, and I took great pride in how much I got done in a day. Like I really always thought, okay, I get a lot done. And things were going my way. The business was alive, and the success rate is so dismal for any new business. So it was going really well as far as anything could be hoped for on paper, but I was working insane hours, like crazy hours. And I was always someone that got stuff done. I was the go-to person for a lot of things, but I was working hard and getting a lot of stuff done, but it just was not enough. It just was not enough. And I was working inhumane hours. And so finally one day I thought, I can't keep it up at this pace. Something has to change. It just didn't seem to be slowing down. So I really, I had a couple of near misses, and I talk about that in the book. I almost electrocuted myself because I was in a rush. There's numerous dangerous fires that were in the kitchen because I thought I would just, answer one more email while I waited for something late at night to cook. It's just horrifying, the situations I put myself in because I was what I would call a rushaholic and always trying to get one more thing done. And I just thought something has to change. And so I took a breath and I started to feverishly examine productivity because I was working hard. I was efficient. I got a lot done. So I always thought productivity and time management had nothing to offer me. I thought, no, you don't understand. I get a lot done in a day. Get out of my way. And I just thought, okay, I got to look at this from a different angle. So I really started to examine every aspect of productivity, like every single minute granular aspect of it, so that I could figure out, how do the most successful people in the world with big teams and big projects, how do they do it? And it was really interesting to me because the very first thing I learned was how they do it is their perception and their time management and their perception of time is what made them successful. They don't get extra time once they get successful and get a team. So just first of all, fundamentally understanding someone who's hugely successful looks at productivity and time differently. So I really dug into that and really started to eat that stuff up. And you know what? Things started to change for me. And luckily they did, because it was just a couple years after that my husband was diagnosed with colon cancer, and I was pulled away from the business. And emotions aside, just going to specialist appointments, chemos, surgeries, like that in itself is more than a full-time job. So that's just the practicality of it. No emotions, no, the fact that I had a great support team at home, so that I lost, it's kind of like being in a canoe. I lost one of my paddlers. They turned the boat around, put me upstream, and we're going through rapids. So I had a really amazing support system. And of course, I don't want to say I lost that, but that wasn't, that was not his asset anymore. So I really had no time. So luckily, I had these things in place, because when I did eventually return to the business, I was away for almost 2 years, and my husband did pass away. When I returned to my business, not only had it survived, but it thrived.
Wow.
And it became public. My clients didn't know anything about my husband. I didn't think it was good for business. And we were also very positive in nature. So we didn't need people being overly sympathetic and putting their energy there. And the business ran. And so when it became public, people were shocked. Like they just didn't understand how I could run the business that way, and that they didn't notice my absence. So they started asking me how I did it. And being someone that likes to help others, and being reminded of the value of, again, life and how important that is, and your business should support it and not consume it. I really got into helping those people, and it was really helpful in my grieving process. And my success with them and myself and all that I did there, that's what created the book, Win the Hour, Win the Day, so that I could help more people, because you shouldn't have to trade your life for your dreams and your passions. It should support your life, not consume it.
Wow. Love it. I am so sorry to hear about your loss.
Thank you.
And that I can tell you firsthand from talking to other people or dealing with other business people, Kris, that never happens. That what happened to you was really like an anomaly, because most people, when they are going through a traumatic life event, such as what you experienced with your husband, and they own a business, the business usually fails.
Yeah. And I can understand why.
Yes.
You stop watering your plant, it dies, right? And on top of that, because John was such a support to me, he did not, I needed to look to him calm and centered and everything's taken care of, because he would have been devastated if now, all the hard work I put in was going down the tube because of him. And so I had to keep morale up. That was really important. So for him to know, hey, it's all covered, and look, we're doing this and it's going better than I expected, he needed that. But on a more practical side, you're also looking at losing an income. So you're like, okay, there goes an income, and now my business is failing. Like, you can't have that. Like, that's stress on top of stress on top of stress. So, stuff happens in everyone's life. Things happen. And that was just my something right now. I'm not special or unique. People go through stuff all the time with their parents or family or situations. Mm-hmm. And you need to be able to weather that storm. And it's your business support your life, not, be like, I can't be there because of my business. That's just not how life works.
Right. And Kris, the important thing, and I do want my audience to hear this really, is that, and we fully get it, that when you start out, you're going to put a whole ton of hours in.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a way to prevent that. because
Yeah.
you're just starting out. But once you have gotten a solid business foundation in place, Kris, I think the really smart thing that you did was you looked at it and you said, it's almost like you kind of said, is this what the rest of my life is going to be like with this business?
Yeah, really. Because I remember, this is a horrible story, but I remember sitting in a backyard at a family event, looking at a child saying, did that child not just have a birthday? Why? This is a whole day out of my schedule for a summer picnic and a birthday, because anything that wasn't work was an interruption from work, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at that 5 years in, you think, we can't do this another 10 years. This is not what we're here for. This is not what life is about, because we all hear that saying. And I can tell you firsthand, when somebody's laying on their deathbed, they do not talk about work, right? So that's where I started to look around and said, okay, it's 5 years in. I should be the one with flexibility in my schedule, not the one that everyone lovingly accommodates because I have to work so much.
Right. Absolutely. That was just a very good moment of introspection there for you, I think. And it really helped you to recreate something different for your life. And I'm so, that was amazing. Because now, I know you said you really, really studied successful people do as far as productivity. Can you give my audience some idea of what that is? What is it that successful people, how do they view time differently?
That is a great question. And I'm going to try to simplify it here without oversimplifying it. Okay. Because it's almost sometimes people say, give me a few tips. And it's sort of like taking them out of context or like clickbait. And it's like, okay, it's similar to me, like a fitness instructor saying, well, exercise more and eat better. There, that's the recipe. You should be fine. Right. Yes. So I want to give you some information, but know that there's more depth to it than that. Right. Now, first of all, I don't love the word time management. I really like time empowerment. I love a whole bunch of different things, but that's what people talk about. So, to me, time management sounds really heavy. It sounds like another system. It sounds like, as someone said to me, Kris, by the time I implemented some heavy system, even the stuff I procrastinated, I could have gotten done sooner, right? So I totally get that. What people do with, that are effective with productivity is it's really looking at how they can organize their day for maximum results. Okay. And let's start off with something basic. I would say 95% of people, let me jump in. Do you start your day checking your emails?
No.
Good for you. You would be the 1 out of the 10 that don't. So when you sit down and you start your workday, you don't start with your emails.
No.
Well, you know what? Call your mother. She should be proud, because most people do. And here's what happens. That's a simple thing, but that's when you are freshest. So you're most productive, right? Mm-hmm. That's when you can control the day and say, that's when you should be doing your most creative work first, right? Mm-hmm. That's when you're like a fully charged cell phone. Your battery is at its fullest. You don't have decision fatigue. You don't have attention residue. You don't have all those things. So if you started with your most creative work first, then you have it done for the day and you're at peak performance and you'll feel good all day. And now you can answer emails, at 10:30 or at 2. And the emails should be scheduled. So most people just do them in between other stuff, and you've got your brain going in all different directions and you have no idea how long it takes you. So then you can't course correct. So here's another thing. It's really how it comes down to using your calendar. Your calendar is your measurement of time, just like your bank account is your measurement of money, right? So a lot of people won't put stuff on their calendar that they do every day, like their emails. But that's kind of like saying, because they think it's got to be take all day, write out all these things. But there's simple strategies in place where you could do time blocking in really efficient, quick ways to map your day out. It's not about listing every single thing you have to do. But when you don't put things down like, I'm going to check my emails from 10 to 10:30 or whatever, that's like not counting your cell phone bill and your cable bill, because you go, well, I know it comes out every month. Well, they still take the money out. It's gone. So you do have to count it. And most people do things every day that they don't put on their calendars. So the big thing here is you walk in and you might think you have 8 hours, but you might have 4, right? So it's really understanding the fundamentals of time. And it's not about our system is not about a cataloging system or a new way to reorganize your stuff and make it clunky. It's not like that. It's appreciating strategies that you can execute at any given time and sort of regroup.
Very nice, Kris. And I think, I have not had an opportunity, to read your book yet. My copy is in the mail. It's coming. Yeah. So I haven't had an opportunity to read it, but I feel like you are my sister in productivity, because I have just always had a really good value of time. I've always said time, that phrase "time is money" is kind of cliche. I say, but it really is. It's like you have a time bank, just like you have money in the bank. Yeah. And so, I totally agree with those things. Audience, you need to really pick up Kris's book and take a look at it, especially in a simplified way where you can understand that. I love your analogy that you gave just now, Kris. It is so simple, because most time management books, a lot of them can be just overly complicated. Yeah. Sounds like you have broken this down to a very simplistic level where people can really connect with it and understand just how valuable time is.
That's been the reviews we've gotten. And I worked really hard on writing an easy to read book. Mark Twain said I would have written a shorter letter, but I didn't have the time. So it is really easy to read. And the feedback we keep getting is that it changes your perception. You're like, oh, so you start seeing things very clearly and differently. And kind of back to the email, which is everybody's number one sin for 99% of people, is it's really like getting into a car. So when you don't map your day out, or you just do emails here, there, or yonder, when you get into a car and you say, okay, we plugged it into the GPS, and you go, all right, this is a 4-hour road trip. And the first time you go off course, it says, course correct, it gets you back and all this other stuff. And not to panic. You're like, okay, it's a 4-hour road trip. We've got, okay, look, it tells us what time we're going to arrive. We're 3 hours in. We've got 1 hour left. There's all these measurements. And then people enthusiastically dive into their day. But because they have no concept of time and they're not mapping it out in a very simple strategy, you don't know how off course you are. It's as if, especially when you're responding to emails, it's as if the first sign you see on the road, oh, turn here for the hospital, turn left for Queen Street. You take those, and then you don't know how off course you are. And you don't know, oh, we're 3 hours into a 4-hour road trip. Or am I 3 hours into a trip that should have only been 1 hour? Because you don't know if things are not mapped out. Like the other day, something happened. I got caught up in a technical glitch that a program wasn't loading as it should. And I looked and it took me 25 minutes. Well, then I realized, okay, now I know where I'm off course, and I can look at and reprioritize the rest of my day and say, what can drop today versus other people just try to work harder and they get in a state. Now they're behind and they'll stay later, and it just feeds it into the monster, right?
Yeah. Yes, I fully get it. I have a mastermind that I do. It's a 3-month mastermind, and I teach my own little version of time blocking in there. That's one of the first things we do. Because a lot of times what people don't realize, of course, like you've said, is that every bit of that time matters. And so when you're taking time to cook, you can't cook and work. Like you said, you've got to block that time out. You've got to say, this is my cooking time, or my time with the kids, or whatever it is. You've got to block it out so that you can now course correct and really take control of your day. Because just like with your money, if you don't take control of your time will take control of you.
Yeah, and also for me too, the notion I hear when I hear that, it's like resisted for years going, but I get a lot done and I work really hard. And the last thing I need is somebody to work harder, telling me to go faster and stronger. Like I was running full tilt. So what I want you to understand is a big part of what we talk about in Win the Hour, Win the Day is when you put these things in place, part of that is breaks. About every 90 minutes, I switch gears, I do this, I have a 10-15 minute break, I sit
Yeah.
down, I eat lunch. I had to learn how to chew slower because I was so used to being on hold with the phone, answering email with right hand, shoveling food down my throat with the left hand, eating poorly because I
Yeah.
didn't have time to chew a salad. Who has time to chew, right? So my heavens, right? So I'm not talking about, this, if you think you get a lot done in a day and you work really hard and your business is different and you already have a fair amount of success, then this is for you because this will take you to a greater success, and this will allow you to have clarity and calm and breathe and just relax and enjoy the process of building your dreams and having a full life. This isn't about going harder, because
Yes.
I'm here to tell you, when you plan, a better plan will always surpass hard work.
Yes. I can attest to that. And I'm looking forward, Kris, right now I am working 4 days in my business, 4 days a week. And so I'm looking to working 3 days a week in my
Yeah.
business.
Yeah,
So I'm
absolutely.
looking forward to reading your book to pick up those because I'm pretty good at my time management,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to picking up that extra bit of stuff I'm missing so I can get it really fine tune it. So I can
Yeah.
get that 3 days a week.
And you so can do that, and it's always there. And that's the thing. Like I went from working 7 days a week, crazy hours, to literally, like, when the peak of everything was happening with John, was like down to 4 to 6 hours a week. It was crazy. But and then now, where it's like, okay, I have regular work days, I would say 6 or 7, 5 days a week. But now, you always got that next dream. So now we're promoting the book, and we've got
Right.
programs coming out with the book. So that's on top of my marketing and branding agency. And then of course there's a bigger social media push because we're doing all this stuff and getting the messaging out. So it
Right.
can go one of two ways. You can say, I want to work less hours, or the business is the business part is working, but I want to get these big dreams out for my
Right.
audience and my clients. So how then do I put this whole thing into already a full work week? So there's always another, well, you know what? We did this well. What would be really amazing is if I did this. And
Yes.
that's where you need to be, you can always be improving your clarity of, your work, so that you can be more efficient and get your bigger dreams out without having it take its toll. Like, you shouldn't have to readjust. You should be able to slide another dream in at any time.
I love that. So I really, really love that, Kris. Now, one of the things I was going to ask was, what makes your book different? There's a lot of productivity books out there. What makes it different? I know we've talked about it a little bit, but can you just give us some more insight onto why this system is so different from others?
Well, because first of all, I would probably not call it a system. So there's a lot of time management stuff out there that is systems. So how I divide the book right off the bat when you start to read it is I define two things. Are you a struggler, or are you a successful person? And a struggler and a successful person could be making the exact same amount of money. They could be both making whatever, $500,000 a year. But the struggler does not have a full life. And if they're away from the business does not continue to thrive. Where the successful person enjoys a full life, and the business can carry on with their absence while they're on vacation, or if they're working 3 days a week. So it's really about which person do you want to be? And there's a lot of strategies that you use in your day-to-day life that you forget to transfer over to your work. So what I think the most powerful thing when you make any significant change in the world, it's your mindset and understanding the clarity. Like, people who go off, I always love to compare it to weight loss, because everyone's wanted to lose 5 pounds at one point or another. So people who go off and lose a significant amount of weight, it's because they change their relationship with food.
Right.
So people tell me like, I see it now, Kris, I see it. Right. And that's the big thing, is there's a whole bunch of things in there where you go, okay, one of the things I talk about is working backwards. So for example, if you want to, we say, we're having lunch together, or it's grandma's birthday or something on Saturday at noon, right? So then you go, okay, grandma lives an hour away. Okay, so we got to leave at 11, but I have to get the kids dressed, and they're a handful on Saturday morning. So that's 10. And then usually we have a bigger breakfast. So all of a sudden you go, okay, I need to get up at 8, do this at 9, do this at 10 to get there at noon. But when we're in work, we tend to get reactive and passionate. So you get this new client and you get so excited and you dive right in and you really want to show them the goods. And so you just start working. But because you don't work backwards and say, okay, we need to have this done in 6 weeks. So what has to be delivered? Where do we need to be in 5 and 4 and 3 and 2, and work backwards? More often than not, the newest client gets more of our attention, and you can't see when your other projects get derailed. You don't see when they go off course. So all of a sudden you've got something that's late, but you don't know when it became late, or how quickly you can course correct. So a lot of people do things like that. So it's really taking simple strategies that once I walk you through a scenario, then your mindset changes, and then we give you some strategies that are very simple, but in podcasts, it's a little bit more work, a little bit time constraint to execute what those would look like. But it's making you see time differently, which will be empowering beyond words, because frankly, no one has taught you this. Like if you went to the highest level of academia, you would have 6 or 7 professors all telling you that their stuff is really important, and they will burden you with great amount of projects, but they don't teach you how to interwork and collaborate with the other 5 professors you have. You just got to get it done. So no one's really giving you effective strategies. So this is really an enlightening process to really allow you to execute at a much higher level.
I love that. Yes. Working backwards. You're right. One of the things about that, and I just stumbled upon working backwards, I kept missing the mark.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to reading that to see how I can sharpen that just a little bit. Yeah. Awesome. I love that. I love it. Oh, wow. So, you say it's a 4-week plan.
Yeah.
So it's not really a system. It's just a 4-week plan.
Yeah.
Can you summarize a little bit of that for us?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I prefer to go in and just the big foundation of it, because again, I just don't want to give you all these little tips, not because I want to give them to you, but I want them to have context. I want them to have meaning and context, right? So I'll tell you, any of your listeners that think, it is a really, really easy read. But if they think, look, show me the goods, let's connect, send me an email. It's going to be in the show notes, or it can be Kris at win-the-hour-win-the-day.com, and we'll connect, because what I really want these to be meaningful efforts that you make, because there's so many things out there that are just like, do the hardest thing first, or do this, or just sort of, and they're strict and they're limiting. And it's kind of like, a really strict diet, and 3 days in you're eating cake and you're like, okay, what happened? Right. So what it is very simple strategies you can put in place, but the foundation to these strategies are really taking whatever it is you do with your day and reorganizing it. And that's where, depending on what you are doing with your day, depends on which actions you're going to take. So some of that's in the book, and some of that's what we work on in your coaching as well, because we have a coaching program coming out. So it's not taking a system and we have a system and then we implement it into your business. It's a personalized system based on what does the nature of your workday look like? How do you serve your clients? Is it one-to-one? Is it, how do you navigate through the day? And it's taking what you do and then reorganizing that so that you get maximum results, because routine regulates, results more than anything else. So it's not us imposing a system upon you. It's more pulling your personality out. What do you love to do? What are you good at? When do you work best? All these variables that really will maximize your results. So that's why I'm always hesitant to say, well, okay, here's what the system looks like. It's not a system.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that, given where you are in your business, your life, your growth, and your priorities, you can flourish more. And we walk you through that through the book. But in order for me to do a fair job, I need to know more about where you're at. But you can self-impose where you're at when you read the book, or you can reach out to us.
Absolutely. And the book is the same title as her website, winthehour.com.
Yeah.
And you are giving away the book for free on the website, aren't you, Kris?
I am. If you just help us out with shipping, a little bit of help with shipping, you can get the book in your hands for free. Absolutely. That's a special offer to your audience. And we also have a coaching program that's coming up that we're very limited seating because it's really customized. So we only have a few seats left. And it's a small, intimate group, and it's called Madness to Focus. And that really, we've done this for years and years offline, and we're just taking it to a wider reach now with geography. So it used to be people that were, even though it's still, we would meet with them on Skype or Zoom, they were just a half hour away from my business. But now we're doing this globally. So obviously we just want to impact more people and more communities in a more global reach so they can impact their communities and just really thrive. So yeah, and then of course, like I said, it's a free read. So the reviews have been pretty amazing, and they've been very sincere. So take a look at the reviews if you're not sure, because it really is different than any system or heavy limited time management stuff that's out there.
Right. And so you can find all of that information. I'll put all of this information in the show notes. You'll be able to get her book for free. Check out her group coaching program, because one of the things I always say is a lot of times people know what to do. They don't have a knowledge problem. What they have is an execution problem. And the reason we don't execute enough is because we can't figure out how to get it done. Because one of the biggest complaints is, I don't have enough time. And that's not true. So Kris and her book and her group will definitely be able to help you with that. Now, Kris, I know there is a funny story that relates to time with this, because you said once, I asked you about a funny or unusual thing, and once you said you boiled the eggs so badly,
oh my God,
flew 10 feet across the kitchen because you were doing emails. What happened there?
Oh, you know what? The really sad thing about this is only like one of 10 stories. Like, this is horrible. So what happened was I was headed to the office, but I was at home. So I thought, I'll just answer a few emails. And I was hungry, and I thought I was getting ready to leave, whatever. And I thought, I'm hungry. I'll just boil an egg. And I tried to set a timer or put these things in place so that I wouldn't forget, because I'd get sucked into my work, which, by the way, the timer would often go, and I think, okay, I heard the timer, I'll get that in 1 minute. So now I need a timer for my timer. So whatever. So I thought, I won't forget this because I'm hungry. So how could I forget this? So I wanted a boiled egg because I could have it in my hand while I drove. I would sprinkle a little salt on it and I could drive. Everything I ate was, how can I eat it and do something else, right? So that's a sad story in itself. So then I went off to my computer, and an hour later, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what time is it? I should be leaving by now. It's late. And you know what? I'm hungry. And then I freaked out. I'm like, oh my God, I'm hungry. So I go running upstairs. Oh my heavens. I'm afraid to turn the corner into my kitchen. It's a huge kitchen. And I think, oh, this is it. This is the big one. And I just peer my head around the fridge, and I look over, and there's no fire, thank God. But I see smoke. And I look to the right, and on the wall, which is now about 10 feet away from the stove, because it's a big kitchen, the egg is violently splattered all over the wall. Like, it looks like it was shot from a cannon. Like, you can't even make out it's an egg. It's in so many pieces. And I went over to the pot, and the pot has burned through, and there's like a hole in the pot. I don't know why it didn't catch on fire. There's a hole in the pot. And here's the worst part as the story continues. It's an older pot. My sister had moved. I'd given her some older pots. My husband had specifically asked me not to burn the house down. I wasn't supposed to be on emails anymore. So he was very clear about that. So I thought, oh my gosh, I got to go get those old pots back because I don't, I need the man to be able to relax when he's at work and not worry about the house being burnt down, which was starting to be a logical fear of his. So I now stop what I was doing, go to my sister's down the street, get an old pot so that, he would notice a missing pot. And not that the man was difficult or cranky, because I'm making him sound to be a crazy person. It's just, he'd seen this happen too many times and it was dangerous. So I did all that, like somebody trying to get rid of a body. And of course, he came home 7 hours later and he just smelled and he said, "Oh my gosh, what did you burn?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, so that was pointless." But
yes.
So I just thought, oh, I'll just answer one more email. And then I got sucked into the emails. And that could have been a really scary situation. And again, sadly, it's not the only story I have. So that's the real problem.
And you know what, Kris? That is a really good example, because, I've not had an egg that flew across the wall, but I've done similar things. Multitasking.
Oh, it is a killer. You cannot shine a flashlight on two spots, yet we all think we can multitask. I do not do it anymore. I see the moment I do it that my results diminish. And that is a killer. And so many people literally are dying because you're texting and driving and stuff. But multitasking decreases your productivity by 40%. And that's another thing. When you start to understand that, and then you do one thing at a time in your calendar, you will see the clarity of your results just skyrocket. And if you're like me, I thought for years when people talked about multitasking, oh, you don't understand. I really care about my business. I really work hard. I'm really time efficient. I'm different. For some reason, my brain is different than all the other brains on planet Earth that they've done studies on. But I was certain, because I was so passionate about my work, that I was different. And every time something happened like that, I thought it was the isolated incidents, until I had like 30 isolated incidents. So multitasking is a silent killer. It's huge.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I used to call myself the multitasking queen. I really thought that was like a skill.
Yeah. And now I call it multitasking yourself into a mess. Yes. And I also say, if you're doing two things at the same time, great. You're doing two things poorly.
Yes.
That's what you're doing. You cannot do two things well at the same time. You cannot. We all know that little thing you did in school where you pat your head and rub your belly. You can't do that.
Yes. Yes.
So why do you think you can be answering emails and make important decisions at the same time?
Right. And you know what, Kris, I think when I was multitasking, I was all over the place.
Yeah.
I had these long hours, but since I stopped multitasking, I feel like now I've got clarity. I'm getting more done. And so you are so right about the multitasking.
But you need strategies in place to protect you, because we are in an environment right now where so much stimuli is coming at us that you have to be really purposeful and have a blueprint of what does multitasking even look like? Like I had a meeting with someone last week and I did a video about this, and here he is on a highway driving on a video conference call, looking at me in the camera while he's driving. And he doesn't even see that as multitasking. Like, not only is that multitasking at its most dangerous level, but he didn't see that. That's the problem, is when it goes undiagnosed. So many people are multitasking and they don't see it.
You're right about that.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a funny story, Kris, right quick about this group. I was in a women's group, and their whole thing was to empower you and to make you to make you develop good habits and to empower yourself and change. But one of their biggest premises was that we had the ability to bend time. So we couldn't, it was like, don't say you don't have enough time, you just make it work. If that includes driving down the road on a conference call, then that's what you do, because you're bending time and making it work. You're getting 30 hours worth of work into a 24-hour day. And at first, it fell in line with my multitasking style. But then after a while, once I started seeing, this is ridiculous, this is crazy. So there was a whole group of women out there that were embracing this, and they were coming together, meeting, and I was like, this is crazy.
There is a lot of scary stuff out there. And really what multitasking is context switching. You can switch contacts, but then there's attention residue. So when you come back to the original task, you've got this lingering residue. That's how the brain works. So there's a whole science behind why that doesn't work. And I've been to those conferences when my business was new. And one guy told me to put a whiteboard in your shower with a waterproof marker. So when you thought of stuff, you could write it down. And now I could see me wrapped around the shower curtain, my neck, naked, in unflattering position, going, oh, I just remembered something. Like, that was not helpful to my health. I knew that, right?
Wow.
But it's context switching. And that's another thing that makes our book different. It's not these little hacks. It's changing the fundamentals of how you work and seeing things differently. And you will start to get results, which will give you more time to do more things and get more results. So it really is so that you can have freedom in your business and your life, and do with your time what you want. It's not about squeezing more juice out of that beat up lemon. It's about breathing it all in and enjoying whatever it is you want to do today.
That is nice. And that is when and trust me, Kris, I have talked to a lot of business owners. That is the one thing that's missing.
Yeah.
It's the freedom. The freedom to have time to do what they really want to do. It's almost like they're still tied to that business so tightly because they don't have any time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's really missing. Thank you so much for being here today, Kris. This was amazing. I will put all of her contact information up. I will put a link out to get to her page, to get her free book, information about you, where you can get to her page and see information about her group coaching program. And I think that you will find this interesting. We need to, when I saw Kris had this book, I was like, oh, my audience needs that, because we need to embrace a new way of business.
Yeah.
And so we can take a breath and feel good about the end of our day, not just wake up tired, go to bed tired, and think that we're making all this progress. So thank you so much, Kris.
Yeah, I think business should be fun. And it was fun here today with you. So thank you so much for the invitation. I really enjoyed myself.
Yes. And one action item before you go, if you will leave my audience with one action item that they can put in place today to kind of turn things around.
One action item, I would say, put down on your calendar the stuff that you do every day, whether it be the emails or whatever it is you do every day. And you will look at that and suddenly be shocked going, oh my gosh, there's only 5 or 6 hours left in my day. So that changes the framework with which you start the day. So it sounds simple, it sounds basic, but I think the most profound things in life fundamentally are. So start there, and it will just, like myself, you'll go, oh, well, no, what was I beating myself up for every day? And then taking it to the next day and the next day. And all of a sudden by Friday, I've got 47 things to do, right? So just start there. It's basic, but if it makes you look at the day differently, it will be really helpful.
Absolutely. That was a great, great tip. Thank you so much for being here, Kris. I really appreciate it. And get that book. It's free. Remember that. Get to her website. All right. It was great. I will see all of you on the next episode of Inspired Women, Amazing Lives. And have a great week. Bye. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Inspired Women, Amazing Lives podcast, where we help women to be truly inspired to live their most amazing lives. Please subscribe to the podcast to be notified of new content every single week. Feel free to like, comment, and share with the woman who inspires you the most. I hope to see you on the next episode. Goodbye.
Wild safety in the whisper of my secrets, pouring out into the surface. hold me under the exposure.